For years, Brandon Ferdig has been traveling the country to connect with others and learn about their worlds, their lives, and their insights and outlooks on life. From everyday people to professionals of all fields, creating videos for his YouTube channel, The Periphery. Now Brandon is taking these conversations into MCN Studios for more focused, in-depth discussions about ideas, issues, and just life itself. We're featuring these connections and explorations in a new show called The Periphery with Brandon Ferdig. Every Monday afternoon, Brandon's conversation with his guest will be live streamed on MCN's Facebook page and Brandon's YouTube channel. Episodes will air Monday evenings on MCN Twin Cities Channel 6 and on the MCN website, mcn6.org. This all kicks off Monday, March 2nd. For now, on this pilot episode, we're going to give you an idea of what's to come by showing you some highlights from Brandon's interviews through the years.
I get a lot of comments on, I get off the bike and gas up or something. People are just like, oh, wow, how do you ride that bike? And I'm like the fingerless biker, and, kind of not really a legend, but I will be. On August 5th, or August 6th, so I got my truck and I went back to work. I set up my tools in the kitchen, got the sprayer ready, and I don't remember exactly what happened. I must have pulled the lever on the sprayer, and the apartment, it just like, it exploded basically. It was a flash fire explosion. I don't know if I remember seeing the fire first or if I felt it first, but I remember seeing fire coming like from just everywhere, down from the ceiling, just all over. And it felt like bees were starting to sting my arm. And I started going, what's going on here? And then I realized I better get back out of this apartment. Like real fine flames just started coming up. And that's what it was like. They weren't, like a campfire fire. It wasn't flames like that. It was, you could barely see them, but they were there. My first thought was, get the hell out of here. And I started running. I tripped and I rolled up against the neighbor's door here. And the only thing I could think of was it hurt so bad. You can't even imagine this pain. I rolled up against their door and I didn't want to get back up. I just said, this is it. And I was going to lay there and die. Now, this was kind of weird. Not everybody's going to believe it. And I might have a hard time myself. But something picked me up. Something, I don't know if it was in my head or if something actually picked me up by the scruff of my pants and back of my neck and pushed me towards the door out. My clothes were completely gone. I had a little bit of my pants left, kind of like Daisy Duke shorts, that you said that was all that was left of your clothes. People said when my skin it was sliding off my body in sheets, just sliding down my chest and my legs and my arms. But when that ice cold water hit my open flesh, that hurt worse than being on fire. The last thing I remember was getting slid into the ambulance on the gurney and seeing the doors just slowly shut. I saw the two paramedics standing out there and the doors just went, it's like a slow motion and clang. And that was it.
Hobos used to come to our house because we live right next to the railroad track. And so they would get off the train and jump off the train and walk down this alley to our house and knock on our back door. And my mama always gave them food. Because there was liquor houses all in our neighborhood. I mean, it was a liquor house it was like three streets. And there was at least 2 liquor houses on every street. We find dead people out in front of our house.
From what?
Look, we don't know. We was children. My parents didn't. You didn't ask questions back then.
You didn't ask what happened?
No.
You saw dead bodies?
Oh yeah, several men would be dead out in front of our house.
Were they hobos or were they neighborhood men?
Neighborhood men. My daddy would just holler back there and say, such and such out here laying out in front of the house, I think he dead. I should have been focusing on my education, and I didn't know education was important. I didn't know why our mama was sending us to school. Now, I started reading in my first marriage, I started reading, and I never put the book down for about 10 years because I, just kept reading. I think in a way I taught myself how to read or how to, speak. It was in 80, early 80s, and they said we got a nursing program. They would come and tell us we got a program for this, program for that. They say we got a nursing program. Anybody want to try the nursing program?
Okay.
I said, yeah. Because when I was a little girl, I never thought I'd do it.
Yeah.
I said I wanted to be a nurse or a teacher. And I taught school for several years.
You did.
And so I said, I do. And so I took the nursing test. And I passed the proficiency test.
That was kind of a pleasant trip just driving up there anyway.
Which city in Alaska were you going to?
It was North Pole, Alaska.
Is that a large?
It was very close to Fairbanks. We had to go 300 miles farther north. Yeah, where we camped, it was, there weren't even any bushes. We got up farther on a hill where we could see around good. The first morning we got up, we could see 2 caribou down there. I was in the small brush that was about this high, and all of a sudden there they were. But I don't think I was more than 50 yards from them.
Wow, you could get that close without them running away?
Well, there was that little brush. And besides, it's kind of like they're not used to being stalked.
Okay.
They're kind of careless. I could see him through those bushes. And I shot one, and he went right down. And then I walked around some more, and I could see the other one and shot him. Apparently, I thought there'd be more there, but there weren't. Just those 2 was it. But by that time, Mama Grizzly had heard the shooting too. They call them dinner bell grizzlies. When they know they're shooting, they know there may be something there to eat.
Did you have your gun ready? And
We'd lay it beside us when we were working on a log or something, so it could easily. I don't know. You wonder. I think it would be impossible almost for 2 guys to stop those 3 bears for some reason she started to charge. It'd probably be, you'd probably lose at least 1 guy. No, if she decided to charge, the cubs would too. As big as they were bigger than any black bear ever was. You wouldn't have much of a chance.
it wasn't like someone stealing your car or someone stealing your, like, your safe with all your valuables in it. You weren't like gonna chase her off. You weren't gonna shoot her.
Well, no, you assume that she's got as much right to it as we do, and we're mighty happy to let her take one. We'll take the other.
You're taking a boat that has no modern components, no electrical modern components.
That's right.
And you're going to sail it from France, south, all the way around Antarctica and back to France?
That's a hope, yep. That's what I'm aiming for.
It's going to take about 9 months.
I would think about that. I am one of the 19 competitors that are entered into the Golden Globe race 2018. It starts July 1st. It is a solo, non-stop sailboat race around the world. This is the 50th anniversary of the original. And I saw in a magazine that they were running the 50th anniversary of this race to retro rules on kind of porky old family cruisers that are not terribly fast but seaworthy. 36-foot old English design.
It doesn't seem very big for open
It isn't,
waters.
yet it's the biggest one allowed in the race.
So the whole point of the trip is non-stop.
Right, non-stop without reprovisioning or getting outside help.
How long will this take?
I think maybe 9 months. I would hope for a faster time, but I'll say, 7 to 10 months.
Home is a very far off concept. I really don't even know what home is.
What about growing up, when you were a young boy? Was it here in the Twin Cities, or was it on a reservation?
It was multiple homes. It was foster homes. It was stuff like that, So home was never really a real statement to me,
Yeah.
there was nothing that I could call home.
Do you think in your adulthood you'll be able to establish a home?
Yeah, maybe sometime. Maybe sometime in the future.
Where do you see yourself in 6 months?
In 6 months. Well, I don't want to lie, man. You know, I see myself out here.
Have you had apartments or room to rent in your adult years?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And why have they not worked out?
Well, there's just like faulty roommates and whatnot, you know. I just don't get along with them, you know.
So living with people is a problem.
Well, not in this community, but in a home, like what you would call a home, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to Vietnam on a boat, and I'm like, what the heck is this LST thing anyway, you know? And then one of the guys took out a picture. He says, "This is it right here." I'm like, oh, I think I screwed up.
Do you regret making that choice?
No, nope, I'd do it all over again. Yeah, my name's Tom Strasberg, Navy vet, Vietnam. I was on LST 1150. We carried all kinds of troops, supplies, napalm, Agent Orange, tanks, jeeps, haul them up, and then a week or two later we'd go up, pick them up, and then haul whatever was left back. They had, a lot of times we'd bring back all the guys that got killed, and that was not a fun deal. We were always getting rocket attacks and small arms fire or stuff like that, you know. We took a lot of hits, ping ping all the time, so we were kind of home based out of Da Nang, and then we'd go up and down south and north out of there up into the smaller rivers. You might make a quick run up into the rivers for a week, or you might be up there for a month and a half. You know, it didn't, it all depended on what operation you were on, you know, what was going on. We'd get into these real bad areas. They'd usually have like either a PBR or a swift boat or something like that with us, plus usually a helicopter gunship.
What's a PBR?
That's a patrol boat river. PBRs were mean, boy. That's what my brother Jerry was on. He was on one of them.
He survived it.
He survived it, but the Agent Orange got him here a couple of years ago, so yeah.
How can a bunch of idiots keep killing people? How can they be smarter than the police department? You feel terrible that somebody hurt your baby. He was really a good kid. He wasn't out here gangbanging. He wasn't out here starting trouble. He wasn't out here being a nuisance, you know, being a menace to society. And he had people that loved him. And he wasn't supposed to go out that night, but somebody talked him into going out that night.
What happened?
Somebody pulled up, and he started talking to that person, like leaning onto their car. And as far as I know, somebody came up from behind him. When I got the death certificate, it said multiple gunshots, but they all thought it was one because it wasn't a lot of blood. So my nieces never thought he just got shot one time in the head.
Have they caught the person who did it?
The police won't tell me anything. They said they won't tell me anything until it's solved. I don't know what the motive was. I don't know who their target was. I just know my son wasn't who they were looking for. Some of the bystanders that lived in the neighborhood said that when the guys ran off, they said that was the wrong guy.
They heard the shooters say that.
Or they was running to the car. I blame the city for not trying to get these guys off the streets. How can a bunch of idiots keep killing people? How can they be smarter than the police department? The governors, the mayors, people that don't have education. How can they be smarter than all of y'all and keep killing people?
Who's killing people? Who are these guys?
I don't know. You just hear about all these gangs on the north side.
Was he ever mixed up in that even when he was a teenager or anything?
No, I never had to worry about gang, anything like that. I mean, we grew up around it, but it never affected us. You have a choice. You have a free will. You don't have to go the wrong path because it's given to you. You can take the higher road and do what's right for your life. Oops. And this says pride and joy.
So he's gone, but she's here.
Look just like him.
His twin. To the T, from the texture of the hair to everything.
Do you think of it like him still being here?
I do. And I have to catch myself because I want her to have her own personality, and I don't want her to have to live in his shoes.
It's like in the last 2-3 years, it just went all the way. Like, you know, there was some, and that was like, oh, every other week somebody's dying.
Yeah.
And it's usually not even their target, which would be the messed up part about it. 2 cousins was murdered in LA right after Dre. Like I said, my niece right before Dre.
Mm-hmm.
She was sitting in the back of the car.
And then a bullet just went through their car.
Yeah, as far as we know. And that happened the Tuesday before Andre.
And they were first cousins.
Mm-hmm. And then my nephew got killed in 2010.
Jones.
Yeah. Walking home, a block away from his house. It's the younger generation, and I don't know where they get their hopelessness from. They don't have the will we did to want to live a better life.
What do you think are the main factors for that being the case?
When I was growing up, we had a lot of activities. They had a lot of stuff for us to do that they took away from the kids that they don't have now. It was always a center you could go to, Boys and Girls Club, Hospitality House, circus in the neighborhood, bowling alleys. They just, community centers, and they really rallied for the kids. And
like, even like, I'm not that old, but when I was younger, we couldn't even walk to the corner store without somebody seeing you and telling your mom where you was at. So it's like, over the years, I just noticed, like, I'm from North Minneapolis. So over the years, I just noticed, like, things changing. Like, you don't have those older people anymore that had that sense of takes a village anymore. And these younger kids, like these younger boys growing up, they have no role model.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have nobody to look up to. And as they get older, we're losing more and more men.
Mm-hmm.
And you got more kids growing up with role models because all the men, either the police taking them out or they taking each other out.
It's the #1 genetic killer of infants. Most kids that have SMA type 1 don't live past their 2nd birthday. So
How old is she now?
she just turned 1 in February. Jane was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy when she was just shy of 3 months old. Spinal muscular atrophy is a genetic disease that attacks the motor neuron cells. Over time, all of the muscles in her body deteriorate. Her muscles to eat, her muscles to breathe, her muscles to move, her muscles to digest things. Every muscle in her body is affected by it. Our team at the university are amazing, and they pushed things like so fast to get her on treatment, Spinraza. It was just approved by the FDA in December of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And Jane was the youngest patient in Minnesota to be dosed at that time. 1 week after her official diagnosis came back after the blood test that we started Spinraza, and it has been a game changer. I mean, I can't.
Night and day difference. Now she's lifting her legs, moving her arms, being able to transfer toys to one hand to another.
Do you have insurance through your work?
No, we actually collect insurance through the state right now.
Minnesota's insurance is amazing considering, compared to other states. That's another thing we read about, all these like insurance issues, and we have been really lucky that Jane has been covered for a lot of things.
I'm guessing when you went on Facebook to read about people who have children with SMA, you were surprised by how many there were. And
yeah, it's
how common it actually SMA is. 1 in 40 people carry the gene.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you're in a restaurant, there's at least one person that carries SMA unknowingly. Bryant and I had no idea that we carried SMA genes. Each person has 2 copies of every gene. So if Bryant and I are both carriers, so we have one affected gene and one normal gene, and so there'll be a 25% chance that our kids will have SMA. So we, by chance, gave Jane both of our affected genes, so she is affected. It's kind of funny to think, but we genetic test all of our dogs.
Oh, really?
Like, why wouldn't you do that to ourselves? And at Jane's birth, SMA wasn't involved in the newborn screening because there wasn't a treatment for it. Now Minnesota passed it. They were the third state to add it to the newborn screening. It is so big for families that are newly diagnosed. The younger that they are and the earlier they start Spinraza, the better for the outcome.
When I travel around Cuba and I'm in areas with tourists, people who have a house, they rent a room, you realize that people who rent out their house are making more money than a doctor.
No, just more money. It's much more money.
Yeah.
They can earn in 1 day or 2 days the same salary of a doctor. A friend of mine who studied with me, she's an electric engineer, and she was working as a waitress because she earned much more money.
Do you think that the communist experiment, as it happened in Cuba, as it's happening in Cuba, would be more stable and successful if Cuba was a more developed country? Then they can pay their doctors more and they can pay their engineers more. And then the tourism money that comes in isn't such a threat to disrupt the economy.
First, the tourism is not the problem. The tourist is a good thing. The tourist money is money that enters to the country. There is no problem with that at all. In my opinion, the socialist system and the communism doesn't work.
The socialist system prevented Cuba from becoming developed?
Exactly. That is my opinion, you know.
Yeah.
The first, the second, and the third goal of the government are stay in the power. The same people stay in power, you know. That is like all the main priorities.
You know how American newspapers will have what they call an editorial? It's an opinion article, and it might say, Donald Trump is not good because this or that, or Donald Trump's tax plan or immigration plan is not a good thing and here's why, da 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 da. Would you ever read that in a Cuban newspaper?
Of course not. No, no, no.
There's no criticism.
No, never, 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 never.
Okay.
You will see in Cuba, we only have very few newspapers. You can say 3 or 4, and they are all from the government, and they all defend the government 100%, the government opinion,
Right.
government side. You only will see one side. What do you think that in Cuba we have so bad internet? If you ask yourself this question, have no sense, because there is some countries in the world that are poorer than Cuba. We have less money than Cuba, and they have better internet.
Yeah.
So why we have so bad internet?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's because the government doesn't want that we have a better internet. Because they don't want that people read different opinions. They don't want that people connect each other. They prefer that you are blind and they just give you their own reality.
We've never let anybody with darker skin than us do better than us. And maybe that's universal.
America has opportunity, and they are very slow to share that opportunity. And so that's why it's not getting to everyday people.
And the belief that people in poverty, people in jail have done something to deserve where they are or to deserve their plight and their circumstances, when in fact there are huge structures at play that have been in play for ever and ever and ever that push resources toward my husband, toward myself, denying other people access to the same. And somehow it's all invisible to me, so I can think I have this because I'm amazing. And I'm not. I'm a white woman living in a white supremacist system.
Because there's so much white fear for retribution of past behavior, fear that the boogie monster that they've made in their mind might come home. I mean, what are you afraid of? There is something super visceral in that response.
So I've been doing a lot of reading and research about race, racism, and whiteness over the last few years, and trying to educate myself, trying to find language to talk to other white people, because I think that's probably our biggest barrier, is that we have so much denial, and I don't even know if it's denial, but unwillingness to talk about it or admit that it's real?
Okay, so I am a white cisgender male. I am on what I call the wrong side of just about every dimension of privilege, of power, of unbalance. And I'm every day I'm trying to learn something, and I'm trying to, because I need to unlearn the way I was programmed and the way the world treats me.
For someone like myself, being, privileged and being a white male, it can remind me, it can be easy to just fall back into the pattern of ignoring what I know is out there because it's not affecting me on the day-to-day. But then every time I have an opportunity to go to something like this, it forces me to confront my privilege and then again readdress how I need to be part of the change, as opposed to just being a bystander to it in society. Like, you have to start with, this is why there's a problem, but then you also always have to make sure that you get into, and this is what we can do about it.
People need to educate ourselves, and especially when I say people, I mostly mean the people who have the power and who have the money, and that's mostly white, male, heterosexual people. We are the ones who still run the society, and we are the ones, it's our problem, and we are the ones that need to learn and need to change. What I don't understand is why we don't just have open revolt, because of how horrible it is all the time and has been for several hundred years. I'm amazed that the people that are oppressed in our system have put up with it so long and continue to try to work within its structures. And I think we better fix those structures if we want anything like that to continue.
My name is Kafi Monska, and I am an attorney in Minnesota here. Our organization is called the Exodus Movement. Our mission statement is to free blacks from a victim mentality and to free whites from guilt. I realized that the conservative movement, I felt like that was actually the more compassionate movement to the poor and people of color, because it gave the message that you can do it. I didn't think it was very compassionate or loving when I see people of color living in the projects and all the violence that surrounds it, year after year, generation upon generation, on food stamps and welfare. To me, that's not compassion. The liberal message is more like, you can't do it, you need government, you need white people, you need other people, you're never gonna make it without us, you need our welfare, you need our medical benefits, you need us to survive, basically, and to live and breathe. We're gonna lower the standards for you because you're not capable of achieving, your kids aren't capable of behaving well in class. I think the victim mentality of black people is holding them back from their true potential. This whole theory of systematic racism, which places this invisible barrier up in the, in front of black people. It's like it conveys a message of hopelessness, that the system is racist, there's nothing we can do about it, and there's nothing we can do to succeed. And that really bothers me, because I came from a troubled childhood where I grew up in the projects, and my mom was on drugs, and there was a lot of abuse in the family. And so I know that people who have had hard times, who are black, can succeed.
Thanks for enjoying these samples of Brandon's interviews. Brandon will be going live Monday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. Central Time for the premiere of his new interview show from MCN Studios, Minneapolis. He'll be live streaming to his YouTube channel, The Periphery, and on MCN's Facebook page. See you then.